everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Recall podcast. I am here with my good buddy Jaylan Salah from Women in Session, and now we're gonna play our quick little theme song. If I can get okay. Hello, everyone. Hello, all of you out there. Welcome to the Cinema Recall podcast. I am the Vern. Thank you very much for listening and for watching, subscribing. All you do right now. Love you very much. Our special guest this week is my good buddy and friend. She's been on past episodes with us talking about Ryan Gosling. She was Mr. Orange in our Reservoir Dogs audio drama project. The one and only Jaylan Salah from Women in Session. Hello, Jaylan.
Hello, how are you, Vern?
I am good. Welcome back to the show. It's so great to have you here and all the things you've been doing over at InSession Films. You've been just been blowing up there, buddy.
Trying. I'm just trying, to do stuff. Yeah.
It's a tough battle to do for us, podcasters and everything, and promotions and everything like that. Trying to put our episodes up in order. It's a tough little deal there, but I'm happy to have you back.
I'm happy to be back.
Been a while, and I'm grateful. And as you saw, we are going to be talking about the film Amelie that I'm holding here, the DVD. Jean-Pierre Jeunet's romantic comedy fairy tale fable masterpiece. Makes me want to go to France, but France probably doesn't look as good as it does in this movie. So
of course not.
We're gonna be talking about that film later on. But before we do that, I like to get to know my guests a little bit more with a little section called Rage Corner. Rage Corner is brought to us by the good friends over at the Film Rage podcast, and this is just a chance for my guests to come on and talk angrily or happily about anything going on in the movie world and entertainment and whatnot. And I'm gonna ask my guest here, Jaylan, what you got anything to rage about or happily about?
Definitely I'm gonna rage about, the best supporting actor race this year, because it's kind of pissing me off a bit.
Are you talking about just who's the nominees or who didn't get nominated or what?
No, I'm just talking about, the nominees are good. Most of them are really good. And you see some names popping in and out every now and then. But the one I'm most passionate about, because I'm probably his biggest fan, is Guy Pearce in The Brutalist. However, I was ready to accept Kieran Culkin as, a great, awesome performance, whatever. I didn't see a real pain until I saw it earlier, but then I saw it again to just reevaluate my judgment. And honestly, am I the only one who thought Jesse Eisenberg was better? I think Kieran Culkin is actually winning off his charm, of his Succession aura. But his acting is just, I don't know. And when compared to Guy Pearce in Brutalist, whom I'm blown away by. Actually, Brutalist was the one that convinced me that it's okay that Adrien Brody would win over Colman Domingo. Because for me, Colman Domingo, as Best Actor, was my favorite performance in a leading role, males, seriously, last year. But then I watched Brutalist very, very recently, and I was like, okay, but Adrien Brody is really good in that one. I don't care about the AI scandal. I don't care. Of course, for me, Timothée Chalamet, complete unknown. I'm sorry, didn't buy that crap at all. But
really, okay.
My goodness, no,
I'm not
goodbye,
Chalamet.
Unknown,
so I don't know how good he was being Bob Dylan with that whole deal there.
Watched I really recently watched it as well, and honestly, the few 30 minutes that I watched so far are just, I don't know, cringe. Anyway, I didn't like it at all, and I'm really not convinced that this is an award-worthy performance. I don't care if he is nailing whatever, but this is not an worthy performance or film. It's a very, very normal, kind of mediocre. Probably you'd have a good time watching this film if you're a huge Dylan fan. I didn't, and I really like Dylan. But
sure.
It's not something that is supposed to get all this acclaim. I feel like it's very, very overhyped, for me at least.
It's funny that you talk about Kieran Culkin and Jesse Eisenberg, because I did see a real pain, and I do agree. I think Jesse Eisenberg does most of the acting in that movie. Seriously. More than Kieran.
And his character is the one that easily gets unnoticed or sidelined because it's the harder character to play. He is the unlikable character. He's the
Yeah.
one with subdued emotional suppression, and he is doing a great job of it. Like the emotional scenes alone were just amazing. The idea, the envy, the alienation. There was a lot to this character and to his performance that surprised me. I didn't expect to like anything. The script was good. The movie emotionally didn't really hit me hard, but the script was really good, so it deserves all the acclaim. His performance actually was kind of like, let's focus on Kieran, which I'm sorry, even if it's not as bad as Chalamet in Complete Unknown, which by the way is my villain of this season, it's not better than Guy Pearce. So this is what is
That's
pissing me off.
okay. Oh, see, I have not seen The Brutalist. In fact, I'm going to be seeing it
Good
this
film.
week. So, but my other pick for Best Supporting Actor, and I'm going to be horrible at pronouncing his name, Yuri Bozor for Anora.
Yes, he was wonderful as Igor. He was just
Because
perfect.
he does a lot of great acting without really saying much, you
That's
know,
true.
and you can feel the love that he has for Annie in that movie without him just saying anything at all. And I thought that was really great, and he would be my pick to win. Because I don't think Mikey Madison is going to win for Anora. I think it's going to go to Demi
Unfortunately.
Moore. If Mikey does win for Anora, I will not be mad at all because she's good in that. But I think Demi has more in the bag. And for
Demi is gonna win, yeah.
someone to get like an acting award for this one, I think Yuri would be a great pick.
He was great in that one. He was good. But anything, I don't know, like Kieran is probably my least favorite nominee. And then at the
Yeah,
same time, he got all, like the credit. So I don't know. For me, it's like he was kind of like the a normal like a normal element in the film. Like I won't say it was too bad, but hey, it wasn't something that you feel you go out of the movie theater and realize, or you just watch it and realize, wow, what a performance, gut punch. No, no, not this one. Actually, Jesse Eisenberg was the one that really surprised me and surpassed my expectations. And one of our friends on Twitter, actually, Matthew, the host of, I think, the Lone Script podcast, he was the
sure.
one, the Lone Script podcast nomination or whatever. He was the one who told me that Jesse Eisenberg, for him, was either better or surprised him more. So I was like, well, man, I agree. Because I watched
That's
it
fair.
really, really after him.
That's a good point there too. A lot of the things that happen with the Oscars, a lot of it is sort of like whatever's been trending and whatever's been on the popular radar. So if Kieran Culkin has won all these awards, it's probably for other work that he's done and not so much the work that he's being nominated for,
And
at
the
least.
charm. He's also
And the
very,
charm.
like, he has this very enigmatic character that it goes and kind of like commands a room. This is why it felt for me that the character Benji, his character, was even
Hmm.
a very, for him it was easy to play. So there was nothing, I didn't feel the challenge even. Like if I had seen Jesse Eisenberg playing this overtly confident wild man, I would have been like, what? I love it when an actor goes out of their comfort zone. Like for me, I liked Margaret Qualley so much, but to see her this sexual in The Substance was a surprise for me. Like I was like, wow, girl, I didn't expect you to bring all this energy, this feminine
Yeah.
energy. So she was like amazing. She was just wow for me. So I always love when character actors surprise me or when they hit me hard.
And I thought that Margaret Qualley was basically kind of like being a satirical version of that type of girl, especially in that pump it up scene where she's just like flaunting the sexuality more, and you just kind of get the joke of how absurd the whole thing is too. It's both sexual but both funny at the same time, and I
That's
love that.
brilliant. I
That's
love it.
absolutely great. Well, great rage about the supporting actor. My rage is not so much a rage; it's both a positive and a rage. I did see Paddington in Peru, the latest in the Paddington franchise. It's a great movie. It's sweet. It's heartwarming. Olivia Colman is great in that movie, and she elevates the movie up more than what it could be. Antonio Banderas is great. The only rage I have about Paddington in Peru is that it does not bring back Sally Hawkins as Mrs. Brown. Her role has been replaced by Emily Mortimer. And Emily Mortimer is great in the role. I have no issues with her acting. It's great. It's like missing Sally Hawkins in that role because she was in
Exactly. I
the
know what you
first two,
mean.
and I don't know what she's doing. If she's making another Shape of Water movie, great. Come on now, more fish fucking. I'm all down for that. I don't care how weird or crazy that is.
I actually like this film for particular reasons. I don't know. I don't care about. I don't know. Did it win Best Picture? I guess, but I
Yeah,
really
the
liked
Shape of
some
Water, it
elements
did.
of it.
The
Yeah,
Shape of
I
Water
just.
won for Best Picture.
I don't know. Sometimes I feel like these wins take from the quality of the film or the validity of the film because there's always people who are like, but this one was better. This one was more worthy. I don't care. I don't give a shit. What I give a shit about is does the movie hit me hard? And this movie had some elements to it that was really good. So I kind of like it was weird, but I really liked it. If it had been probably on the side as, like Chimera, the film that Josh O'Connor starred in last year and didn't get any award buzz. I liked this movie and I really enjoyed it because it was kind of like under the radar, but it really, really resonated with me. So if Shape of Water was that kind of film and not, like big spectacle award season film, boring, I would have loved it more, I think, for some reason.
That's fair. That's fair. It's a movie that I definitely need to like watch again. I definitely felt emotional attachment to the characters in Shape of Water because for me it was like a grown up fairy tale. It's the fairy tale that we've seen Disney tell over and over again, but it adds in a lot of like real elements, especially with like set in the 60s and the attack it has on homosexuals and races and things, and I thought the
Exactly.
fish creature represented that in a way there too,
Mm,
and I thought it was a sweet movie, and people had issues with the whole her having sex with the fish. I'm like, it's a fairy tale. You have no issues with the beast and Beauty and the Beast of them getting together, all right?
exactly. Like, ew, are you guys serious? How is she going to like bestiality at its worst?
Yeah. And I'm like, he was a much more decent person than a lot of the other people in that feature.
Michael
So
Shannon's character sucked, but I really hated him. Like it felt over the top for me. Even the performance was like, dude, come on, kill it.
I thought it was a perfect balance of just being this like a creepy person. He's the person that you want to hate. He was that Gaston of that movie,
He was the
and
Gaston of the movie.
he totally
That's true.
was. So very cool. All right. Well, thank you for that. Right now, for our podcast listeners, you are going to hear a quick little ad spot from another awesome podcast show, and then we'll be right back with our thoughts on Amelie. Did I lose it? Hold on here. Sorry.
Yeah, where are the rest of the ads?
No, I got one more. There it goes. Okay. All right. This will be edited out.
Yes.
Okay. Welcome back, everyone, to Cinema Recall. Our feature is the 2001 film Amelie, written and directed by Jean-Pierre Jeunet. And actually, Jean-Pierre Jeunet, and I'm sure there's another screenwriter on here that I cannot. Oh wait, yeah. Guillaume Laurent. My French is terrible, people. All right, so a lot of these names I'm going to pronounce, they're going to be really badly. But if there's anyone in France that wants to send me to France to teach me better French, I'm more than happy to do so. One quick thing to say about this film before we get into it, though. I've seen Jean-Pierre Jeunet's other films like Delicatessen and City of Lost Children. City of Lost Children was the first thing I've ever seen from this person. And then he did make Alien Resurrection, which I know a lot of people shit on that movie, but I love Alien Resurrection.
I love it too.
Thank you. It is a fun movie.
Problem. I like it so much.
It's probably better than Alien 3.
I agree.
It's a
Better
lot
than
more
the
fun.
future one.
Better than Prometheus. Better than Alien Covenant. And yes, better than Alien Romulus. All right, I'm going to say that right now. But let's get to your thoughts a little bit about director Jean-Pierre Jeunet. Was Alien Resurrection the first thing you've seen of his, or was it Amelie, or do you remember seeing his early films?
Delicatessen was the first one, and it was recommended to us by we were having like this film critic workshop in Luxor, another city in my country, and the amazing Senegalese French mentor told us to watch Delicatessen. And we had homework, like we had to watch it and write an essay about our feelings, what we saw in it, blah blah blah. And when I watched it, I was like, wow, I have never seen this. What are the color gradients? What is this filter? What are these characters living in? And it was a great very weird film. And then I think I watched Amelie, and then I watched Alien Resurrection just recently. Can you believe it or not? So
Fun.
yeah, the first
Okay.
one was Delicatessen, because I had like a, for InSession Women InSession film, we had like a an Alien retrospective where we had to watch all the movies. Of course, I was familiar with one and two. I loved them, but I didn't see three or four, even Prometheus and stuff, until recently. So when I watched them, I was like, wow, Alien Resurrection is so cool. What is people's problems? I hated Alien 3. The other ones, I don't want to even talk about them. I don't know. Ugh. Not even interested. So yeah,
Yeah,
the first one was Delicatessen.
love that. The first thing I ever saw from Jean-Pierre Jeunet was The City of Lost Children, because I remember that ad of that movie playing everywhere in '97. All the movies I rented, it always had that trailer. And there was a quote from Terry Gilliam saying that this film is one of my favorites of the year. It's addictive. And if you look at City of Lost Children and even Delicatessen, it has a very Terry Gilliam style to it. It's almost like Brazil. It reminded
Yes.
me very much of that movie. And so I watched that, and I even remember City of Lost Children having a video game. There was a
Ooh.
video game for the PlayStation 1. It was the first time I ever seen like a French movie get a video game treatment for it. And I thought that was really kind of different and unique. I know like The Fifth Element is made by a French filmmaker, but it's not really a French film. Love that very much about that. Then I have seen Alien Resurrection, and it really wasn't until I saw Amelie that I saw the name Jean-Pierre Jeunet, and I thought, wait, the same guy that did Alien Resurrection and City of Lost Children and Delicatessen, which are dystopian movies. Am I wrong in saying that these are like dystopian type
One.
movies? And the color grading is very scaled back. It's very kind of bleak, and there's humor to those movies. And then you go to like Amelie, which is bright and colorful. And here's the thing too, Jaylan. Both Delicatessen and City of Lost Children, and even to a point, Alien Resurrection, I think he was teamed up with Mark Caro because it always says a Jeunet and Caro film. So I don't know if Caro is the one that added more that dystopian style
Maybe,
to those features.
probably.
And then you get to Amelie, which is like this very bright and colorful film. And I guess what I like the most about this movie is just the way that you feel. Because the actual plot of this movie doesn't begin until about 15 minutes in. Because we're doing the whole introduction about the wine glasses dancing on a table. And he's talking about all the different like connections that people are having. And then we spend time with Amelie as a kid. I mean, introducing a movie's character by having a woman pregnant and her giving like birth like really fast is really kind of a fascinating thing for a movie to begin with. But it's very sweet. I just wanted to talk just a few minutes right now about Amelie as a little kid. She basically does retreat a lot into her imagination, has imaginary friends. I love the sequence where like her dad doesn't really want to touch her. So every time he does check up on her health, that's when she starts getting like, fluttered a little bit because she's probably being touched by someone that loves her, and then he thinks that she has a heart attack. But I just want to hear about some of your favorite moments in this, and then I will tell you my favorite moments of her as a child. Do you have any sort of favorite moments that come to you when she's a kid?
When she's a kid, I think one of the most beautiful lines that I love in this film, I'm going to tell you about it. Le monde
Okay.
extérieur paraît si mort qu'Amélie préfère rêver sa vie. In such a dead world, Amelie prefers to dream. I like this line because I think to me it summarizes the whole movie. Like, this is a reality. Like, people are living a reality, and Emily prefers to be a dream girl. Of course, Emily to me is kind of a pixie manic dream girl in a way, because she is so perfect and good and played by Audrey Tautou, who is very beautiful and delicate and sweet. So I think she's also a beauty and a curse, because she does not exist in real life, people. Even when you go to France, you will not meet your Amelie. I'm sorry to break it to all the dreamers out there. But she's also a good person to imagine existing, probably in an alternate universe as that. I liked her childhood isolation. I liked her even interaction with the fish that she didn't even know how to cope with or how to love. properly, because it was like she's a weird kid, and she's weird as a neurodivergent probably, but he did not outlay this perfectly, Jean-Pierre Jeunet. But I love the idea that she is different and unique in a way, and this is probably why even the phenomena around her were different. So even as a child, it seemed as if she caused mayhem and chaos, but it wasn't. It was just her reacting to the world differently, and probably the world unable to react with her. So I really liked the whole childhood sequence or montage.
Yeah, she had a lot of stuff happen with her too, and I really love the fact too that the director spends time with the other characters. And it talks about her dad hating cleany trunks and like loving this, and it goes into that with her mother too. Like her dad likes to like take tools out of the toolbox and put them back in again, and like the mother, she has her likes and dislikes. I thought that was like kind of fascinating. The whole issue with the fish being suicidal, they keep wanting to like jump out of the bowl, and when the fish gets released, gives Amelie this small little look of like happiness, like "Hey, I'm free." And then while they were in church, some tourists, wants to commit suicide and lands on her mom, on the mom. So now she has, just her father available, and that's it.
And
And
her
they
father
can
is
kind of
emotionally distant, so it doesn't make things easier for her.
no, like he doesn't want like he loves his daughter, but he never wants to give her a hug or anything like that. So she's feeling very like stilted in a way, and she wants to do good. I love that she has like this CG animated alligator as her friend too, which I like. My favorite scene in this is she's taking photographs of clouds in the sky, and while doing so, there's an accident, and a neighbor blames her for the accident, and so she thinks that her picture taken is the one that's causing the accident. And then when she realized that she's been had, she goes to the neighbor's roof. I don't know how she actually got up on the roof, and I would be afraid if my kid that young was up on the roof playing with wires. But she messes with the antenna controllers and is able to shut off the neighbor's ball game as it happens. And I like the moment where right when the players on screen are about ready to score a goal, then she turns off the power, and then he gets all angry and upset. We sort of like cut to her as adults. There's a great little sequence where it shows her wearing a Zorro mask, and there's supposed to be this mystery about this sort of ghosted guy, this balding guy. We cut to a few years later. Amelie now is in her 20s, and she works as a waitress in this cafe, and there's like a jealous lover played by Dominique Pignon, who you'll recognize in being in a lot of Jean-Pierre features. He was the guy in the wheelchair in Alien Resurrection, and I know he's been in the City of Lost Children as well. Great actor. I only know him for being in movies like this, but and other things there. And then while she's there, the whole plot kind of centers around when Lady Di passes away. It shocks her. She drops I guess it's a perfume bottle holder, and it rolls and it cracks open this sort of like panel on the floor, and she finds this box, and she wants to find out who this box belongs to. And basically, what Amelie does in this is that she just wants to do good by other people, and she
Yes,
wants to help people out, but she doesn't really want to help out herself. And it's not until she
she has a
meets
savior complex.
Nino, very much so, but it's not really until she sort of meets Nino, played by is it Matthew Cassavetes, or I had it written down here, and but like I said before, my French is just really terrible. Yeah, I think it's like Matthew Cassavetes, that she's able to do something more and to make her life better. But yeah, that's basic the whole like kind of plot of it. But the thing about Amelie that I love, and you can agree or disagree with this or not, Jaylan, is I just liked her just being sweet, and yet I feel bad for her because she's doing all these nice things for other people, but she doesn't want to do anything nice for herself. So yeah, and it's more about just the the look of this film that I like the most. I love the score. The
The
score is
music,
absolutely just
yes. Jan Tiersen is just perfection.
very iconic. But this is a movie that you sort of just say to people, just watch it, you'll fall in love with it. But if I tell people the plot of the movie, it doesn't sound like anything that would be too engaging. The story about a girl, kind of lonely girl, she does nice things for other people, but doesn't know how to do nice things herself. And then she meets a guy and is unsure about, whether or not she should do nice things. She loves this guy, but does he love her in return? I don't know. It's a difficult movie to really establish what is great about it. Even though you can tell people about the colors and the music is great, but you know, I just want to get into your thoughts about the general vibe of this, and then I want to get into some specific scenes because there are just some specific scenes in this movie that really like just stand out. But just really quickly, Jaylan, just give me like your general overall thoughts about the storyline and where it went to and all that.
I love this movie. I really loved it more probably in the past because it was very, very unique for me visually, like, and even the character itself. Because I was also a different girl when I watched it. I was like in my 20s. So for me, it was very fascinating. This girl, wow, she seems so relatable. She's well read. She watches movies. She's romantic. She's beautiful. Even when she's like seeking love, she doesn't do it the normal, boring way. She's doing it in mysteries and in hidden trinkets and kind of like creating puzzles for her. She just wants to play. Like for me now when I see it, she's very completely disconnected from reality. She doesn't want to live the real world, so she starts doing things from afar, and I kind of, believe it or not, get her. Like I really get what she's doing. I really get where she's going. She seems like how we used to be as dreamy teenagers writing poetry and kind of like interacting, like at least my experience with Emily is in a way relatable in the idea of creating this world where you interact with people on a different level. You don't just do it, like the normal way, even when you're trying to date or love someone. So for me, when I was back then, she was like my hero. She was like, wow. And also because I think I was earlier in my years, I had a savior complex. So it kind of connects to me like, yes, let's save the world and do good for people. And then I was like, what the hell? These women don't, like, even when I evaluated myself, like, fuck girl, have you ever been that sacrificial? No. Have you ever put other people first? No. So when I was looking at her, like, even when you were in a relationship, especially back then, because the time around I watched this movie, I was more invested in, like literary life, like even film criticism life, local wise. So I was surrounded by people who were like, wow, like there were many things regarding my personality, like, wow, your personality, wow, 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 whatever. And people who expect you to be a creature or a character from a movie, which is like, guys, no, or people, no, there's no such a thing. There are kinds of guys who would expect you to kind of like save them out of their rut or whatever. So when you have the Emily complex and you kind of try to emulate her or like her or even become infatuated by her, you try to discover men who are like, or people in general who are like waiting for an Amelie to get them out of their crap. Unless, like you face them with the truth that even when you go to France, even Audrey Tautou in her reality is nothing like this girl. Wake up, call everyone. So I started liking her less and less because it was about a movie about someone who, what is this? What are you doing, sweetheart? Why are you wasting
Yeah,
your
like
life
the
on
whole
these
sequence.
miserable idiots?
Well, I mean, the
Like
whole
seriously,
games
all
that she
those
plays.
co-workers and shit.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
like her workers too. But the whole okay, so in the movie, a crush she likes drops a photo album book, and then instead of
Mm-hmm.
just giving the photo album back to this guy, she has to invent all these little adventures and games for him to play to get this stuff back. And I realized that she wants to have like a playmate, and there's a great little
Yes.
sequence. Well, there's like great little sequence where it describes that Amelie didn't have any friends, but Nino had too many, and like Nino was like being pushed on, and it seemed like they were just friends that were living like far away and whatnot. But instead of just talking to him, she has to just do these other things, and then she has to sort of connect with him through other people. Like she has to hear stories about him through other people. Like she gets this whole backstory about who Nino is from his coworker I find it great that Nino works at a sex shop. I thought
Yeah,
that's
this
actually
was.
kind of a funny little thing to happen. But
And
she
also, it
hears
makes
about,
sense. He's as much as a voyeur as she is. Like, they are two voyeuristic pervs who probably were in
yes,
each other's path. Because Amelie, face it, let's face it, is a voyeur. She kind of like watches people and watches from afar. So, but it's done in a cutesy way. You know what I mean? But they are just. I was having this conversation about Punch Drunk Love, and we were talking about the character of Adam Sandler and Emily Watson, and they are two creeps, but they are in a different form of creep. So Emily is kind of creepy, but she's a cute, creepy girl. Same goes for Nino. He's like working in a sex shop and he's a weirdo, but it's a different life than hers. So it's kind of like a great addition. Makes sense why he puts
yeah.
up with her.
You definitely see that too. I love the moments at the beginning of the movie too, where Amelie once Slate's looking back at people's faces when they watch movies, and maybe that's my fascination with the reaction videos because I do like watching some reaction videos. It's a weird thing, especially for movies that I like, and just see people's reaction to things. So I like that about her. I like the fact that she thinks about how many people are having sex at the same time, or how many people are having orgasms, and it does that great montage of people having orgasms. And if you get the DVD, it shows the behind the scenes of each one and how long it takes for them to shoot that, which is absolutely kind of a fascinating thing because most of those shots that happen for about like 1 second is like a whole day shoot for that
Makes
film
sense.
to get it all just like right, to get the angles right, the actors. So I thought that was absolutely great. And she has this great deal of imagination with her that I love. I love that her dad doesn't want to travel much because he was afraid of Amelie's heart being weak. But the reason why Amelie's heart was so weak is because she did not have any physical contact with her dad. So what Amelie does is she takes the gnome, his gnome is Prize gnome, and sends the gnome notifications, and the gnome comes back with like different postcards and stuff. And I really kind of enjoyed that. So it's clear that Amelie does care about the people in her life. She notices that Gina and the jealous lover, they're fighting all the time. And so what does she do? She decides to hook him up with Georgette, the tobacconist, who is a hypochondriac, a person that is always being sick or pretends they're sick all the time. And she decides to hook them up together. And is she doing this to help them out, or is it to make her feel better about herself? I don't know. Those two are probably mismatched as all things. I don't know if they would ever work together, but
I think she's just trying to. For Emily, the concept of reality is something that she is not really familiar with. She's been an isolated kid. She's had physical problems. She's had like she is obviously neurodivergent, so the world to her with neurotypicals is a mystery, and it totally makes sense. Even when she tried dating, even in the sequence where she said she tried having a boyfriend, but it was disappointing or boring because probably she had like a. I'm sure that she's one of those girls who reads Jane Austen in her mind. Oh, Mr. Darcy. She wants to meet her Mr. Darcy, basically. So she kind of like creates this world for Nino to exist in. So she kind of created a fantasy for her to be able to love someone. She can't just, like love a normal person because her head is in the clouds. So she kind of imagines these scenarios with people, playing with them basically because she is too imaginative and obviously doesn't have a talent. So her talent is what kind of like taking people and making them heroes in her plays. So this is something wonderful, of course, in a movie, like to watch her. Wow, what a beautiful thing. And the beauty of this movie is being seen as a fairy tale, and just imagining Emily in real life as a character would be like, girl, like you need a pep talk, honey. You need to sit down and us to tell you the realities of life, because what if she ends up with the creep who murders her? You never know. So what I love is the idea of her playing God in particular situations where she just moves people around, but also thinking that she is doing the world a favor, although she is not. She's just doing it for her own pleasure.
it's fascinating that you mentioned the whole fairy tale aspect there. Have you seen a movie that has Audrey Tautou called He Loves Me, He Loves Me Not?
No, I didn't watch all her movies, obviously. No,
Okay,
but I really like her face.
there is a movie that came out probably a few years after this called He Loves Me Not. And it's been a while since I've seen the movie, so I'm not going to do the best of job of describing it. But it's about a girl who gets a crush on a boy, and then they, meet up together, and it's this whirlwind. But the guy has like this evil ex-wife that she wants to get him away from, and it's very sweet. And small spoiler alert, but this will not ruin the movie for you. You see her reality, how she thinks the love thing went, and then you actually see the actual reality. And in the reality, Audrey Tautou plays like this stalker woman who is stalking this married man who is very happily married, has a good wife, but she's actually the villain in real life. But in her fantasy world, she sees herself as being the hero of the story. And
That's a
it's
brilliant movie.
He Loves Me Not is great because after seeing Amelie, and she's very the sweet person, and you kind of feel for her. There's that great
She's
sequence in
magical.
Amelie. Well, there's that sequence where she's watching a documentary about her life, and she's totally being the whole Ava Perón type of persona, where she's there to help the needy and the homeless, but she's not able to keep herself happy, and her depression causes her dad to pass away, and so the whole her life becomes distraught and everything like that. So she sees herself as being sort of like this victim character.
She also has a martyr complex. Like
Yeah,
she
and
has
she,
a savior complex and a martyr complex. Like, I'm gonna die saving the poor girl. Sit down. You work in a cafe, please.
yeah, very, very much so. And I thought that the He Loves Me Not, it kind of takes the whole persona that we've known her from this movie, because that happens a lot of times when we see movies and characters that we associate with, and then we see a movie that sort of like skewers that. It's a different thing to see, like
Or
Harrison
you get
Ford.
older and wiser.
Well, I'm saying like actors you associate them with like one movie, and then you see them in something else, and they play a completely different role. It just kind of throws things off a little bit, and that's what I loved about He Loves Me Not, because she actually does play a very psychopathic person. She is the Glenn Close in Fatal Attraction type
Wow,
of role for that one. So
that's so sexy. I need to see this film.
it's been a while since I've seen the movie, and I don't know if it still holds up or not. But I'm very curious to hear what you thought about that. Um, yeah. So, uh, getting back into there. So in the movie Amelie, Amelie goes to this shop where she buys grains, because one thing Amelie likes to do is she likes to stick her hands in grains and feeling that. And I love that in the montage where it shows
Those little details. Yeah.
where it shows like Amelie liking things, and then it talks about her first boyfriend. I like the scene of those two in bed and they're having sex, and she's just like laughing out loud.
No
Or
orgasm.
yeah, no, she's not satisfied at all. She's just like laughing at this guy's pathetic attempt. So she goes to the shop that's by her house to buy grains, and there is the shopkeeper and his assistant is Jamel DeBose. And I recognize that actor from a movie called Angel A from Luc Besson, a great little black and white feature that was there. But I love those two characters. I like that. I don't like the fact that this older guy picks on this younger person, but
Terrible person.
terrible person. But I love the comebacks that Amelie has.
Me
But
too.
she does it because there's a line in there too, and I'm not going to say it right, where something about shy people would have the best comebacks if they weren't so shy.
Yeah.
And she hears like the accomplishment of the windows. But after this older guy picks on this younger person, Amelie sneaks into the shop owner's home, and she changes things about his place. And I love that. She changes the
Her
phone
revenge was
number.
very good. Like, it was very spot on.
Like she changes his toothpaste to foot cream, and then she's cuts like some of the wires in his lamp so he plugs it in. It'll shock him. She changes his foot. She changes his alarm so that he'll wake up early to open up the store, and it doesn't need to be opened up. So I like that. I like her little tips of that. And then after she does, I don't know if this is the part where you see a little montage of her as like Zorro do the little Zoro Z thing after she does accomplish that, or this comes after she discovers things about the photo album
I
book.
think probably she's like doing the Zorro, but she looked like a really cool Zorro. I don't remember the Zorro part where it was.
Yeah, I don't know exactly where it was to film the two, and we're probably doing a bad job of not going plot by plot with this
Oh my god,
movie,
I
but it's a movie
can't
that
do
you
these
don't
things anymore. Honestly, plot by plot stuff just hurts my brain. I don't
it
know.
does too. Like, if this is not a movie that really has that big of a plot to it, all you need to
It's
know,
not a
Amelie's a
plot
lovely.
driven movie.
It's
It's a
not.
character study stretched, and you just go around with this character. So I think character study movies, you either fall in love with the character or you hate them. So it's either your movie or you're not your movie. For me, this is a very unique experience because it is a movie that I adored. And then I started seeing it from a different light. This is the unique experience for me.
It's mostly about how scenes are done. There's a great sequence of her like just skipping stones on the lake. It's a simple shot where the camera just kind of like pans around and she's skipping the stones, and it goes from like her point of view, and it like turns around and we're seeing her, and it's a beautifully shot sequence. Doesn't have anything to do with the movie, probably not, but I enjoyed that.
Who
I
cares?
enjoy the
It's
sequence.
a good scene.
Well, I mean, I enjoy the sequence of her like she's all right. So there's a neighbor in her building who hasn't seen her husband in a while, and her neighbor believes that her husband ran out on her, and that he just left her for some other woman there. She's bitter. She's jealous. So Amelie decides to create a letter by her husband saying that her husband has been away and missing, and that he loves her. And even the sequence of her just like making that letter together when where it does that zoom in each time she's making some sort of like alteration with the letter was really great. And she's doing something nice for a woman whose husband probably most likely did leave her for another woman, and Amelie wants to give her neighbor some sort of like closure, even though that may not be the actual closure. It's the type of
It's a,
closure
it's still a
that
good
she
thing to
needs.
do.
It's
Amelie
perfect.
has done a lot of good things. That's true. That's something we cannot deny. But the idea, I think, I don't know how to explain. But the idea that someone would think this character would exist in real life, this is what is ridiculous. Like the
Well,
idea that when you seriously when you see this beautiful pixie dream girl, this is the problem, creating a character that kind of makes it toxic. Like she's existing, yes, she is existing, of course, in two worlds: a world where she is enjoying what she's doing, but a world where she actually kind of selflessly does for other people, to kind of like hide the fact that she is afraid of actually doing it, going after her own ventures or her own pleasure. So I don't know. The idea that watching it now is a bit different experience for me. But she is. I think what makes the movie perfect is that Audrey Tautou is a very beautiful, beautiful woman. Seriously, what a beauty! What a very energetic presence on screen. So I think this makes it so much better, so believable or so relatable. Although the movie itself might not hold up.
that's right. I mean, she definitely has the whole Audrey Hepburn type
She's
of
very
like style
picturesque,
to
just
her.
amazing. You could see her doing nothing. There are many scenes here which mean nothing or have nothing to do plot wise, but you don't care because she's just so beautiful. And these are what movie stars are. We would just want to see them on screen doing nonsense and we'd be happy.
That's a good point. And I do agree with what you're saying, Jaylan. Like, this type of character would not exist ever in real life. All right. There is not going to be a girl out there that's going to play these little cutesy little games with you to try and meet up
Exactly.
with
This
you.
is the
It's
funny
not.
thing. Oh my god, they're selling weird kind. This totally reminds me of the girls who read Darcy and like keep imagining when am I going to meet Miss. There is no Mister Bullshit. Wake up, tear down those books, and try to analyze them from a different perspective, honey. This is not like. Oh, I love Heathcliff. Heathcliff is great. Heathcliff is great in a fantasy, like if you're having a role play with your boyfriend. But don't go to a toxic guy and ask him to devour you, honey. He's going to kill you probably or hurt you so bad. So this is what I hate. The idea that sometimes you feel there are many imaginative, amazing people that I meet online. and some of them get really drifted into the fantasies. This is where I feel like, oh my god, I wish there would be a lot of analysis to kind of tell us about cautionary tales as well as, the good and beauty of movies. But you can't just take the aesthetics for what it is, especially after I think you've read a lot and watched a lot, and after you've become a thinker yourself. So this is, I think, our roles as critics, as podcasters. We have to give more depth to our analysis and tell people the reality of it all. Like, yes, love a movie, but also don't love a movie too much, because the internet world is become, I think, like an alternate reality, and some people are alive in it. I'm serious, alive in it. So this is why I'm scared.
You should read Bluebird's Castle by Anna Biller
Ooh,
because it's
um,
set up very much as a gothic romance fable about this young girl who's never had sex before, and she meets up with this guy. He's very dashing and handsome, and he takes her out to his castle, and they explore each other sexually and everything like that. And she feels like love because he pays attention to her, because no one else in her past has paid any attention to her whatsoever. And they get married, and then after they get married, things start to crumble in their relationship, and she starts to ask, well, am I doing these things because I just want to do them or not? Or am I doing just things that are expected of me? Like, I was very much attracted to him, but then when I found out that he was married beforehand and that he may have like gotten our maid pregnant, she starts to see him as like
typical
not
gross
be
guy.
well, she's
Yes.
like she's seeing them she starts to see him as being this guy that is not as romantic as I brought about to be. And did I like being with him just because he gave me attention? I mean, other men have given me attention before, but I was not physically attracted to them. And she has a lot to say about people's perceived fantasies for
That's
both men
perfect.
and women, and it's a very kind of fascinating tale because it's told in that sort of like Victorian gothic romance, like you mentioned, the Sense and Sensibility type of
Yeah,
deal.
the crabs.
But it's done like in a modern sentence. Anna Bill is the director of The Love Witch, which I also recommend watching
I
as well.
love the Love Witch.
It's the same. It's the director of that. She wrote a book called Bluebeard's Castle, and it's good. Yeah, I was very. But a lot of things that you were talking about with Amelie's, like people's like perceptions versus reality,
And
is
also, I think there is also a great point that, because you brought this up, the idea that, okay, you and I, of course, and a lot of people, you have your internet persona, you have your podcaster persona, but then you have a persona like, I just love creating an air of positivity and, like vibrancy and loveliness on podcast or interviewing people or whatever. And then you start meeting people who think that this is who you really are, and they're like, wow, because you are smiling all the time and your smile makes my day happy. Of course, but I'm not smiling all the time. Who am I? Like, who the fuck do you think I am? Like, this is a problem with me, that people might perceive a particular woman who has a particular persona or does particular things, like, let's say, videos where she just spreads positivity, or she just does interviews, or she just does podcasts in a way, let's say positive way, as an Amelie person or as a Pollyanna person, as a person who is like, wow, bringing joy into lives, period. No, there is no period, honey. There is also darkness, there is depression, there is a lot of other shit. So when people start to know you, getting closer beyond, let's say, a podcast or whatever, they discover a different side of you and they feel cheated, but you're not cheated, because how would you know a person unless you became regularly in each other's lives? So it puts a terrible pressure on women to cater to an image that is unrealistic and very silly. And also, I don't know, like, why should it even exist? You know what I mean? Like, why would you perceive that a woman would be
well,
like that? You know what I mean?
I don't expect people that I watch online to have the same personalities they have on camera
Some
versus
do,
what they
honey.
do in real life. All right, no, that's not the thing there. I will admit this to you right now on camera that I've been going to see a psychiatrist and a therapist for years. I'm going to be tested for like autism spectrums because my psychiatrist and a few people want me to get tested for that because they say that I'm on the spectrum for possible autism, but they don't know exactly what
Yes,
spectrum I'm in. And I have dealt with like depression issues and anger issues and whatnot. And yeah, I do put the persona out there that I want to just be happy and friendly. And
exactly.
when
Our
I
buddy the Vern.
well, yeah, but when I see other like YouTube channels and everything like that there too, I know that who people are on camera are not the same people they are in real life. Like I know if I go to meet you, Jaylan, like I know you're gonna be a complex woman that's gonna
Very,
have a different.
very, because I'm bipolar too, so it makes it like I'm diagnosed with bipolar. So seriously, I'm a very, very complex woman. So, and I don't know. I think it just probably attests to your depth as a person, and probably because you are too informed or you've worked on yourself. Same goes for me, but other people unfortunately aren't, and this is where the problems stem.
Are you saying because like how people just like perceive people on screen, that's how they're gonna perceive them in real life. So I can imagine like people like go to see like Amelie and say this bright, happy girl, but
This is
Amelie in the
Audrey
movie,
Tautou.
but Audrey Tautou too. But I'm saying this too. See, I'm confused now with the character versus the actor. Even the character of Amelie, she is, yeah, she wants to do good and help people, but there are sequences where she feels really kind of depressed and alone. There's that sequence where she's talking to her neighbor, the guy who's called like Mr. Glass,
Yes,
and
I like this guy.
he's painting the photographs, and he has like one picture of Amelie as like a kid. He's trying to paint a picture of this girl as a kid, and he's saying this girl probably didn't have any friends, and Amelie is like, well, maybe she's just different. I didn't have any friends. I'm fine. Why are you telling me about this girl? And you can tell that Amelie has sort of like depression
Of course.
with her as well. There's a little bit of darkness because she has not had any friends at all. She has had no physical contact really with anyone to
And
have just
all
like
the
a
ones she
simple hug.
tried were very, they fell short of her expectations because her expectations were unrealistic. That's the problem. Like her expectations were too imaginative and high. So any relationship, any attempt at a relationship that she had fell short of that. So it's of course very soul crushing for a person like her.
And I don't know if that's necessarily her fault or just the way that she's grown up. She probably has not been able to talk about any of these feelings with a professional. And
Of course, yes, I can feel it.
she's doing all of these elements for herself to make herself feel better. And it's a nice thing, but she's probably causing more damage to herself
And to
psychologically.
probably others. Like what you just said, Georgette and Joseph are not people that you could combine together. This relationship probably will fail at the end. The hypochondriac Georgette, and then you have Joseph, the weird stoker guy. But
Yeah.
she's doing it innocently, thinking, wow, I'm doing them a favor. But what if you're doing them both agony? You know what I mean? So she's causing harm to herself and others unknowingly.
And I think the movie does address that. It does show that after they do get together, uh, the jealous boyfriend, Joseph, becomes jealous of Georgette. And so it didn't really help anything out at all. And I even think too that even after Nino and Amelie get together, I don't know if it's going to be that well after the fantasy.
They will have great sex, and this is it. Mark my
Yes,
words. All they had was kinky, great, out of the world sex. But this is what I was talking about to one of my friends earlier. I mean, we were talking about relationships where you go and you have great kinky sex and also trauma bonding, but that's about it. When you face reality later on, you and that person, zero chemistry, zero ability to assess what you want from each other. The only good thing or the only thing that attracted you both was that the sexual attraction and the trauma bonding. Probably you were hurt in similar places. So, what I feel for Nino and Emily, they had something invisible that connected them. They will have great sex. They will have like a very like fireworks relationship that will all calm down. They will look at each other and they will find that they are incompatible in many things because reality is different. And even when you have this like arousing, like very sexual relationship where you're just so into the other person, it's intense and it's amazing and it's sexy. But then what else? When all this becomes a routine and dies out. So that's
What
the
else would
thing.
be there? Okay, it is great that you brought that up, Jaylan, because I've been watching the Before Sunrise series for the past month or so, and I think Jesse and Celine have like a really great love and relationship. And everyone talks about Before Midnight being the most like darkest one, and they're like, I like the second one more because it's uplifting, it's positive. I think Before Midnight is extremely uplifting and positive. There's that sequence where they are like kind of fighting, and then she leaves, but she comes back. And that's a key thing right there, that they're fighting, they're arguing. She says, I don't love you anymore, but then she comes back. Or even when she does leave the hotel room, she doesn't drive away. She just goes to the lobby and is like waiting for him. And they both just have this great chemistry that even when they're
Exactly.
fighting, it's a very kind of like love and deal, because the third one he feels guilty because he had to move away from his son,
Exactly.
and he feels like he should be in the son's life more, and that they should both move to Chicago to be around him. And his wife's like, what about me? I've got this career here in Paris. We got our two kids here. Why are we uplifted to move to your son? Your son is fine. Your son loves you. He loves being here. You don't need to be around him all the time. And so the arguments that they have is great. And I don't really picture Nino and Amelie being able to argue and fight, because
Unfortunately.
Amelie's got that perception, that whole sort of fairy tale perception of like romance, and anything that's going to shatter that will be very disheartening to her,
That's
because
true.
she's probably never had a chance to really like argue with people, because she wants to do good. And this is an issue that I've been facing too, that I want to try to make everyone happy. And I will push back my own feelings just to make someone else happy. And that's where I get into my issues with any type of dating and relationships, is because I want to try to make sure the other person's happy, but I gotta think about my needs too. And Amelie is not gonna be thinking about a lot of her needs as well. And so I liked this movie because for me, it's sort of the person that I am and who I don't want to be. All
Yes,
right.
I know what you mean. Yes,
So I
I know
found it to
what you
be
mean.
kind of
Totally
a
makes sense to me.
fascinating aspect of it. Also, I just think the movie's gorgeous too. I
It's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous movie.
know that this, okay, to me, Amelie does for France what La La Land does for Los Angeles.
Yes. Ooh,
All
I'm
right.
more into the dark side of Los Angeles. This is
Oh,
why
you
I
know,
love darkness. I really like the dark stuff. This is why I used to like the French films that are about, like fucked up relationships or people just being shitty. I like the grittiness of it all. Probably when I was younger, like 10 years ago, you'll probably find a completely different person talking to you about the magic of the world or the magic of everything. But now I'm more of a realist, unfortunately.
that's like, so you see the world more like the Mulholland Drive of Los Angeles, like the
Yes.
Lost Highway of Los.
Yeah, that's my favorite Los Angeles, by the way. I love movies that show us the seedy, crappy, dark side of Los Angeles. Yes.
Everyone's like seedy and out to corrupt everyone right there. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Los Angeles. Look at all the bright colors. We're in Hollywood, California, in the
No.
theaters.
Lies. Hollywood is actually one of the worst places in the world. Imagine the amount of people who got fucked there. No.
Gosh, are we talking about this like great little Hollywood Boulevard? And it's like,
Yes.
some lady was abused over there. There's drug ads over here and everything. Oh, what a great way to like talk about this romantic fable and everything like that there too. I love it.
Yes, yes, me too.
But I don't. What was there like? What do you have like favorite moments of like Amelie? Anything like stuck out, like a particular shot or anything that really stood out for you?
I'll tell you what. There is a beautiful scene there that is also very remnant of my past self. They were like, it was a reality check. The last thing Emily wanted. She was in bed and she was like, starting to imagine Nino, and then was she going to talk to Nino or not? And then it was like it was a reality check. Any other girl would have gone to him, but it was a reality check. The last thing Emily wanted. Wow, I love the I love her all the scenes in her bedroom, especially when she's like sleeping and the like fake alligator and then I think a dog are talking to each other like, hey, is she falling in love now? I love these scenes so much because they seem like very cozy and very romantic and very, I don't know, kind of like peaceful too. I like her wild
Yeah.
imaginations when Nino doesn't, I think, show up or doesn't call. Was he kidnapped? Did he become, like a terrorist? I like this because it shows her overactive mind. This girl does not, she's walking on clouds, basically. So I love all the, like, the ideas when she's having multiple scenarios, I think, because it's also remnant of multiple, you know, and anxiety ridden people and people with, like certain disorders.
I
Totally
can
makes sense.
imagine. I can imagine they're gonna go out to a party and he's gonna talk to another girl and she's gonna put this fantasy that he's gonna leave her for this other woman and then
And she
there's
will
gonna
have like
be
exactly all kinds of scenarios, and he was probably asking the poor woman like about a drink or about like the way to the toilet or something. She's gonna give him a miserable life, and
but
I don't know, I don't know, I don't really know.
yeah, it's great in the whole aspect of the fairy tale fable of the movie, but in the reality, it's probably not going to be that great. But who cares? It ends sweetly. And here's the thing too: I mean, we know things about like they have like two separate stories, but we really don't see them much together until the very end. So
Yes.
it's really bizarre that this is a romantic movie when our romantic leads only spend less than maybe a minute together on screen.
Yeah,
It's a sweet movie, and I
it
love the
is.
sweetness of it. But as I'm watching it again, I'm like, wait, it's a romantic movie, and yet we don't really see much of the romance until the end when they're riding a motorcycle together, and that's it. The first time they ever meet each other is like, uh, yeah, she either he goes to her door or she goes to his door, and she doesn't want to open it because she's like afraid of the confrontation. Because even a romantic meetup is like a confrontation. She's definitely afraid of meeting people, but she doesn't want to be alone.
Yes.
So yeah,
She has reached a stage in life where she was like, damn, enough of that crap. But even the way she is seeking to kill that loneliness is weird. But then it's a lovely, small, weird movie, so this is why I can get a pass.
and at first I thought this is just how things happen in France. So
Imagine just walking there and oh my goodness, you should see like La Haine or something where you see the shit about
yeah.
France. Seriously, some like because oh my god, there are parts in France where you feel like nightmare. You should watch two movies as companion pieces to Amelie: La Haine and Irreversible,
My
and you
gosh,
will hate your life. You will hate France.
I will say this though, I did watch the straight cut of Irreversible, and
Yeah,
I
so
liked
dark.
that a little bit more than the theatrical cut. I didn't think I would, but I think it being played in chronological order kind of plays a little bit better. It's still tragic, so I don't know. I'll have to save that movie for another episode, but I don't know who's going to be willing to talk about with me because I already did like one small episode by myself, my reaction to Irreversible.
And what a
But
reaction that is. I would
the
love to revisit it. I want to see how different I see it this time more than
it's a
before.
it's a different version, the straight cut.
Mm-hmm.
In that one, you definitely get to see, and I guess watching that version, I really started to admire Monica Bellucci as a great actor.
She is perfection.
There is a lot
Watch
of
her
great
in
sequences.
Milana.
Oh, I gotta see that one too. But there's a lot of great sequences between her and her three other actors before all the horrible stuff happens, and you get to know more about that character. And it's the descent into craziness where it starts light and sweet and goes dark versus dark and goes sweet. It's a different version of Irreversible, and it's
Yes,
more easily to digest because in the theatrical version you're hit with a lot of dark stuff, and
exactly.
then
It's
things
a
become
bitter pill.
light. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know. The straight cut is much more of a better thing for me. But that's neither there. That's a different French film. Actually, I do love Gaspar Noé's features. I expect Gaspar Noé has been doing a lot of dark features, Jaylan. I want him to do a Disney feature. If
Where
David
he's like
Lynch,
goes dark Disney.
no, if David Lynch can do a sweet Disney movie, so can Gaspar Noé. And so I just feel that he has the ability to do that, and that would be absolutely great.
That would be insane. I would watch that definitely.
Uh, all right. So, do you have anything more to say about Amelie? Because I think I said everything that I want to say about this movie. I think it is a sweet movie. Did you see his other feature he made with Audrey Tautou, A Very Long Engagement?
Yeah, I saw it and I hated that one. Boring.
I
Damn it.
I did too. I was
God.
I was looking forward to that one, but I thought it was dull.
Me too. It was such a disappointment. Like seriously, what is this? No.
Yeah.
Killed me.
Okay. That okay. So we will not be covering that one either. All right. So,
We will find nothing to say. Both of us hate it.
but I want to say thank you very much for
Thank you too.
being on here. This is really great talking about a movie that I actually do really love. Yeah, we've been covering a lot of like romance features on here. Last month we covered Baby Girl with Heather Baxter
Ooh.
Walsh, and now we're covering Amelie. I know it's coming up for the podcast. I'm holding that DVD. Coming up for the podcast, we are going to be doing a retrospect on the Paddington movies. So we're going to be talking about all three Paddington movies. I also know what's coming up. We have an episode planned for another Yargos, Yahoo for Yargos. I'm bringing on my good buddy, Jason Soto, who's my host for the Rotten Truth podcast over at Rabbit Hole Podcast. Me and him are going to be talking about the film Kinds of Kindness.
Ooh la la. Yorgos Lanthimos. Good.
We're taking our Yahoo for Yargos month right there, or our series, not a month. We've been doing a series for that. The last movie I need to cover of Yargos Lanthimos is Alps, which I think is probably his best film.
I liked Alps.
You like Alps? Okay, yeah. I think that's probably his best movie. And I
love his earlier stuff, seriously, more than the recent ones.
Okay,
Before he
well,
went all Hollywood.
I may have to call you back in to do Alps because you've seen Alps and I don't know anyone who's seen Alps before. So
Definitely
I may have to call
count me in. Count me in. Yes.
Okay. Well, very cool. Tell me, Jaylan, what is going on with Women in Session? What have you guys been going on?
We're gonna we recently just posted our vampire romances episode, and then we're gonna have an episode I think on costumes in movies, probably coming up soon. Like there's a lot that has been in Women in Session, but I also have an essay on InSession itself as a writer. It's about the horror movie mothers and how I resonated with them more than regular mothers, more than any other mothers in movies, like the horrible, scary, violent, vicious mothers, the mothers who protect their children probably too much or sometimes smother them with love, as in killing them, and how that monstrosity in motherhood is what attracts me to the concept of motherhood in general, and kind of like throwing in my experiences, but also talking aesthetically about those horrific or, like horror mothers and how they were created, costumes, makeup, blah, 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 as well.
Like horrible mothers, like the mom from the Babadook and
Yeah,
the mom from
yes,
Carrie.
exactly. All the scary mothers, not the nice mothers, not the good mothers. More like the bad mothers, but especially in horror movies, not in realistic movies. You know what I mean? Like how horror depicts motherhood sometimes.
Love it. That sounds great. I'll make sure to post links to your channels. I know you got a YouTube channel. I'll post links to that as well because you've been doing
Yes.
some great interviews over on your YouTube channel. So I'll be sharing that as well. Now, this is part of the show, and I've been neglecting to do this on past episodes. So I'm going to try to bring this back now. I want to give a shout out to our Patreon members. If you like the show and you want to support us, go to patreon.com/cinema recall pod, and you will get episodes ahead of anyone else. There's going to be bonus episodes, and there'll be other good things. You're going to be able to see video footage of this episode before it becomes live on YouTube. But right now, I give a shout out to our wonderful Patreon members. So no special order. I want to thank Jeanette Miller, on the at AK Jeanette, that's website. Jeanette, of course, was our wonderful. She was the cop in Nice Guy Eddie in Reservoir Dogs, Reservoir Drama. Love her. I want to give a shout out to Jason Soto from Rabbit Hole Podcast. You'll hear him on the show. Be sure to check out our podcast, The Rotten Truth, over on Rabbit Hole Podcast. Then I want to thank Matt and Ashley from Ashley at the Movies. Donnie Roberts, who does our Donnie's Choice episodes. He's found at Cage's Kiss and Videorama. And then Linda Castro from Bedknobs and Broomflits. Linda Castro, I want to say she was our Joe. I think she was. Yeah, I think she was Joe or Mr. Blue or Mr. Blonde. I don't quite remember. I feel bad about that. But Linda, I love you very much so. Thank you for your support. And then I have Steve W. Steve, you don't have a website, so I don't know exactly what to promote for you. But thank you very much for your support. I appreciate that. Like I said before, if you want to support us, patreon.com/Cinema Recall Pod. And there you go. That's it. We are done with our episode right there. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Big shout and hearts to you, Jaylan. You've been a wonderful supporter, and I thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. And just big virtual hearts to you. Love you dearly. I plan on getting you back on the show for a voice actor role part because
Yes.
I'm brainstorming right now a different review show. All right. And I'll share that more with you off camera.
Yeah.
But we'll be back again, folks, for Cinema Recall. Again, thank you all very much for listening. And we'll see you later.